back to another episode of SaaS-y Moms, the podcast where we talk about technology, product marketing, product management, and of course, motherhood. I'm Wendy.
And I'm Anya, and today we are talking about SaaS.
Yeah, and actually, that's how we came up with the name for our podcast.
Yeah.
We were brainstorming back and forth, and we actually used a play on word and came up with our name. So, what is SaaS? So, SaaS actually stands for software as a service, for those that don't know. And probably you have interacted with a SaaS, and you may not even know that it's called a SaaS, to be honest. So, I might be kind of aging myself a little bit here when I tell you guys this example. But when we had to download, software from a floppy disk or a CD, do you remember that, Anya?
Yeah, absolutely. I also remember the games that I was playing. I was using
Yes.
CDs, like The
Yeah.
Sims was my
Yes, yes.
favorite game.
Yeah. And then you have to buy different versions of like Microsoft Word. And then, when that gets outdated, you have to buy another CD and then install to upgrade to the latest version. So that was, software in probably the 1990s, and a lot of that has changed. We don't do that anymore. I don't have any more, these CDs that I need to like download and upload and install. That model quickly changed. And it's really like what changed to is a software as a service, which is SaaS. So instead of like actually purchasing physical copies or, upgrades, you simply pay for a subscription and get everything that you need to use that software actually.
Yeah, and honestly, like you reminded me right now about those days with CDs. It was disaster because a
Hmm.
lot of like my Sims games, it depended on the memory and the power of my computer back then. So
Yeah, yeah.
my computer was not as powerful. That's why it was lagging all the time and like it took a while to upload. It was crazy. But, right now, SaaS is a way how we deliver the software through the internet. So instead of, making our users install and maintain this programs on our computer, updates happen automatically just by lifting a finger. Software is accessible anywhere. It's accessible through your device, like a mobile, as long as you have internet. Honestly, it's great, and the
Hmm.
speed and is much better. So definitely, SaaS is something that has significantly changed the way we interact using our laptops.
Yeah, for sure. So we talked about SaaS and how we came up with the name. And then we kind of played on word and,
Yeah.
and talked about like kind of, sassy means to us. And we felt that that word kind of like reflected both, our work in SaaS as well as, our life as a mom. And then that's why we kind of like agree that it's like, hey, that's actually the perfect name for our podcast. Um, bring some sassiness to the business is actually quite interesting, especially when I've worked with many different industries. There is, biotech, finance, telecom, now IT. And as, you probably have encountered, Anya, as well, is I constantly had to kind of find my voice. You're working with so many different personalities within technology. You're working with like, engineering, executive team, customer support, sales and finance, and just so many different personalities. You like it or not, technology is many times is a very male dominated world. Many of the executives that, I have been a part of in terms of the companies that I've been with, they're really men dominated. So as you're working in it, you kind of have to constantly voice out your opinion, even though it might not be popular. You might be going up against a lot of people that have a lot of experience, have a very, very strong personality. You might be challenged, you might be criticized, or be in like very tense situations. But I think we have to come up of it, especially as women, kind of understanding of grace and keeping your cool. And sometimes you have to kind of bring a little bit of humor too. To kind of like really help people understand where you stand for, what your opinions are, because you are, interacting with a lot of mixed personalities. So that's why I think like bringing that sassiness is very important, especially kind of just ensuring your voice is heard.
Yeah, as you talk, I kind of imagine some personalities in my head because we work together, so I understand what you're talk about here. But I really like something that I have been working with you for some time. So I definitely think that you are very great at expressing disagreements politely. And I remember your manager once called you, like, I don't remember the term, but do you remember how your manager called
No, I
you?
actually don't.
No?
No, was it like Bulldog? Was it I don't
No, I
remember.
remember like you were like the most polite shark or something like that. Or the
Yeah,
most
yeah, yeah. I don't
soft
remember.
soft-spoken shark or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, maybe. I don't
Anyways,
quite remember. But yes, yeah. Yes. I think I just approach it more diplomatically. That's probably the right word. Because you
yeah,
are
so
dealing with a lot of different personalities.
exactly, exactly. So when it comes for me, right, my SaaS as a product manager is a little bit similar to you, but different.
Yes,
So
yes.
I'm Eastern European, and polite is not about me. Unlike you, I'm pretty direct and blunt. And I'm very lucky, honestly, to work in a company and with a boss who appreciates my bluntness. But I think my SaaS in product management is my firm prioritization decisions. And I remember my chief product officer once told in one of the meetings that no matter what, our team will never change our prioritization. Or my boss telling me that, hey, we are promoting Anya to product manager because she always is saying like F you, we will need to move this into this direction, and we are not, and we will be firm. So I think this firmness allows me and my team to always stay on track and achieve the goals that we set in front of ourselves or that business sets for us. In my approach, I rather politely say no and use a fact-based approach why it's a no, no matter who I talk to. Is it a stakeholder? Is it like a support person? Or is it a chief product officer? But rather than I will change my prioritization short term and, put my product under the risk of not performing. And I imagine
Hmm.
this can apply to motherhood too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I know. And it's funny because, you and I have worked together for a really long time. And I always tell you, like, I appreciate you being so straightforward because I don't have to guess, anything from you. And then I think that's why we clicked. And, as a mom, I think that's, just having that like understanding is even more important because you've got to lead your kid. You have to stand your ground. You have to be ready for these challenges that changes day to day, month to month. My kid is changing like on me every single day. Like I'm like, are you the same kid yesterday? How come you're challenging me in a new way now? Like what happened? So they will keep, testing you. But you sometimes just have to like kind of laugh at yourself, sometimes and not take everything so seriously as well. Like, parenting is tough. And finding that humor in yourself and your kid on things that they have done kind of keeps you going. And I think that's how I have approached it as well.
Yeah, I don't have to argue with my kid yet, so because I have a newborn, but I do argue a lot with my mom. She's
Hmm.
here, she's helping, and on the one hand, she has been tremendous help because she does a lot of cooking, cleaning, just keeping our house in order. But I have to, stand my ground when it comes to the way I want to take care of my newborn.
Yeah.
And she is resisting a lot. She has her opinions, by the
Hmm.
way, but I am ensuring that things are done my way because I am a mother. I have an intuition rather than
Yes.
hers, and it has been a challenge.
Oh
But
yeah. It is hard. Because especially I'm sure like you appreciate her helping you, but you have a different parenting style. So it's super hard to navigate some of these. So I don't have any good tips, but it is very, very hard to navigate.
I know I just try to think about it as a learning before so that I can argue with my kid better once they're at the age where they're going to say no to everything.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but maybe let's move a little bit back to our technology conversation. Um,
Yeah.
Because it's important to clarify that in this podcast, since we work in business to business SaaS, we will primarily focus our findings and our solutions specifically in this our solutions within this type of SaaS business. This is the software that is designed for businesses to help them operate more efficiently, right? So example is Slack, which is a tool for communication, or Salesforce as a CRM, or HubSpot for marketing automation. These
Mhm.
tools are all about improving the workflows, data management, and collaboration for different organizations.
Mhm.
However, SaaS as a term applies to many other types of software.
Yeah, yeah. So there's like, different things, right? There is also like business to consumer, which means primary focus is not to enable another business. These are probably the SaaS that majority of us are familiar with, like Netflix. You pay a subscription so you can watch the latest shows every single night, or Spotify for your music, so you can listen to your music every single day during your car rides. These are monthly subscriptions that you pay on a monthly basis. So you can see like SaaS has actually became a really popular business model versus kind of the traditional software model where, you go on a shelf and you buy a CD and download it onto your computer, and you want the latest version again, you go out to the store again and buy the next CD. In that, you're like trying to dealing with like one-time sales. You don't have that predictability. You don't know when that person is going to that store again to buy that next CD. So it's really hard for you to predict the revenue. So it just became a really, really popular business model.
Yeah, and the beauty of SaaS is that it gives businesses predictable recurring revenue, and you can sell it on a monthly or annual subscription model. But the recurrence is what attracts a lot of people to even start their own companies there. I can give you an example that my partner is in painting business, right?
Mm-hmm.
But people just order a painting like of their house, for example, once. They might never come back, or maybe they can come back in 10 years when their painting
Yeah,
is
yeah.
not great again. Same for any, like even for commercial painting. And that's why my partner started a SaaS company, because he values this like recurring revenue, and the
Mm-hmm.
fact that you can acquire a user once and then continue delivering value for the user so that they stick to you as long as they can, and increase your lifetime value, meaning that throughout the lifetime as they use your software, they kind of pay you money. So the more time they stay, the more money you get as a business.
Mm-hmm.
And this stability allows businesses to plan, grow, and reinvest much more effectively than before, when it was just a one-time purchase.
Yeah, I would love to hear more about actually your partner's business, like a painting turned into a SaaS. Like I'll love to
Yeah.
learn more about that. Well, maybe we'll save that for another episode. But
Maybe
another
we can
great
invite
thing,
him to our
yeah,
podcast
we
once and he
should, we
can talk.
should.
Yeah.
Yeah, need it like a first time dad too. Actually the other thing, great thing about SaaS is I just thought of it is how much is it easier for our consumers to purchase? Imagine you have to like pay a lump sum upfront, like every single time you need to use something, right? Like Netflix is easy. It's like, 10, $15 a month. That monthly manageable fee is aligned to how much, how you get paid. You get paid for your job, on a biweekly or monthly. It's just a lot easier. You don't have to save up to make that like big purchase. It's more flexible, practical. It just makes a lot more sense, even from a consumer aspect. So it's just a lot easier to manage as a business model.
Yeah, and this recurrence
Mhm.
also kind of makes businesses think about their metrics, right?
Mhm.
So maybe you can talk about like what metrics usually are
Yeah,
important.
yeah, so like in traditional software, if you think about or any other business, probably the one thing that most businesses care about is revenue, is how much revenue can I get? But it's a little bit different or a variation of it for SaaS, right? Because you're looking at like recurring revenue. What is that monthly recurring revenue that I'm going to get? How many users are going to continue to pay me on a monthly basis? How many users are going to pay me on an annual basis, on a recurring basis? So these are the terms you might hear is called monthly recurring revenue, MRR. or ARR, which is
Mhm.
annual recurring revenue, is really understanding how much of my users are still paying me on a monthly and annual basis.
Yeah, and it's not only about revenue, right? It's also you have to think about whether customers might cancel their subscriptions. And that's what
Mm-hmm.
we call churn. And it's one of the key metric for us, especially in product management, to understand. And it also shows the health of your SaaS business.
Mm-hmm.
And the lower the churn, the healthier your business is, the better return on investment you get from the costs that you spend on acquiring customer.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't know if you remember this, but you remember Netflix changed their pricing model? And a lot of people actually predicted that their user base would churn or cancel on a massive scale. But actually, the opposite happened. It actually reinforced their value to their subscribers, which is really interesting.
Yeah, funny you mentioned Netflix here because I remember how many users have complained when the Mike Tyson streaming had capacity issues. This is basically when you see this feedback, you know, people cannot live without Netflix, and this what
Mhm.
makes Netflix so great as a business. And this reminds me actually that with our product, outages became a very unexpected metric that shows how much our users love our product because every time we have an outage, which happens rarely, but it does, basically our engineering team catches this outage couple of minutes later than the feedback we got on Reddit or any other
Yes.
public source about this outage. It's
Yeah.
crazy. I have never worked in a business
Yeah.
where such an instant feedback just indicated how much our customers are using our product on a day-to-day basis. And you have some products where outage happens and the users don't even complain about it within a day. Then you start knowing something
I
is
have a
wrong with my
problem.
product. Yeah.
I should watch out for the churn.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so that's really, why we came up with the name like Sassy Moms. We really wanted to blend between the SaaS, which, the products and the business we're working in, as well as like kind of our attitude towards approaching, business as well as like, as a mom as well. And I think, I think Anya and I joke around a lot as well. Like, we do disagree. Like we work well together, but we do disagree. So like I think that's really kind of summed it up as who we are, how we approach business and how we approach as a mom. And we kind of explain a little bit here as well, like kind of the differences between the different business model, between like a SaaS, running a SaaS versus a traditional software model, right? Like you only care about revenue versus recurring revenue. So like I know we've worked in many different businesses, not just in SaaS. Have you seen
Mhm.
any differences in, running a SaaS versus just a traditional business or technology?
Well, I think when it comes to like running a SaaS business, product becomes very, very important because the more your users enjoy your product, the more you fulfill their needs with the product, the more like this recurring revenue will happen for your business. And that's why I like working in SaaS because in SaaS, as a product manager, my role is pretty critical. And on a day-to-day basis, in order for me to manage product effectively, I have to work very closely with engineering team. And again, because your customers continue paying you money on a monthly basis, you
Mm-hmm.
have to ensure that you deliver innovation for them, right? And since we need to iterate quickly and maintain a continuous cycle of innovation, this collaboration with our engineering team becomes crucial. Now, also shifting the focus from one-time purchase to continuous purchase means that we need to continuously provide a very great support to our customers. And that's why support teams become important. Sometimes you can truly differentiate your product by marketing how great of a support you have, right?
Yes.
And this is where we have to constantly maintain a product, means we need to constantly work on bugs and do like little incremental improvements. And also we have to ensure the entire support infrastructure is there so that we have very great support articles and or videos, automate onboarding as much as possible. So really, because in B2B, the software is complex, these extra functions within the business become critical.
Yeah, I can't agree with you more. I think often it's like people think we should only market on the differentiators of the product and the feature set, but you're absolutely right. Like support, onboarding, the whole journey from even the sales process all the way to them being a recurring customer, like all those interactions and points are super critical as a go-to-market, especially for a SaaS, because you're trying to continue that relationship. So that just becomes really critical. But I just thought of something is like I think from my perspective, I've worked in software that is not a SaaS, hardware as well, technology company. I don't feel like the structure really changes, between different companies. You always have, the support, the customer support or
Mhm.
sales and marketing and all that. But I think the focus shift a little bit. I can just kind of talk about marketing is, marketing in SaaS is not just about acquiring a net new customer. It's about like continuously delivering value to them and making sure that they feel confident throughout their entire journey with us that they've made the right choice because we're also trying to reiterate that so they don't churn, right? So I think that's to me is the major difference is not really the departments, but it's kind of their objective and their goal.
Yeah, exactly. But at the end of the day, the structure of the business is the same. You also need IT, you also need finance, you also need
Mhm.
accounting. So all those critical backend functions, they kind of stay the same.
Yeah, yeah. And actually, I just remember one more thing. So, like, I think because we have this like continuously development cycle, I think the other important thing is like PM and PMMs work so closely together in a SaaS environment. Because with a software, it might, you might get an update or whatever it is, like a year or two. So the likelihood of you guys interacting might be less. Whereas in a SaaS, you often have very, very shorter product development cycles every 2 weeks, every month, because you're trying to continuously provide value as, user changes, market changes. So there's a lot more coordination between us, to ensure like, smooth feature launches, to ensure the value is there, to ensure that constant communication with the customers.
Yeah, that's true. And by the way, we will do another episode with you on PM/PMM collaboration and how to collaborate
Yeah.
effectively, because we were able to develop those systems and we can share them with our audience. But to just sum it up, I think this continuous life cycle and continuous value delivery users who are engaging with your software on a daily, monthly, and annual basis becomes critical. And
Mhm.
when you think about metrics too, this is the reason why we in product, after launching certain features, we measure engagement of it, like engagement every
Yes.
single day, right? Because the engagement with those features can predict churn and can predict how valuable the product remains to the customer so that they can continue being our customer.
For sure, for sure. So we'll dive into a lot of different aspects of product management and product marketing within the next few episodes. We already have so many topics actually thought about. So we just have to find time to actually record and have those. But we'll love to hear from you. Let us know which topics you would like us to cover as well. Like what interests you? Where do you want us to go a little bit deeper? We'll love to do that. So let's dive into our next segment, which is one of my favorite. What we're calling is SaaSy Struggles. This is really where we talk about some of the challenges we faced, as mom. And Anya, last episode we talked about some of the things that you have tried. I think it was a probiotics drop that you had,
Yeah.
and I had this like checklist thing that I purchased for my kids. Do you want to chat about like your experience with it before we get into there?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a link there. It's a BioGaia, I don't know how to correctly spell it in English, drops. So I think they helped a little bit. Again, I never stopped doing massages, burping, never stopped those, but I think the drops helped. They helped my child to better cope with those gases and colics. So I continue giving these drops to my child up until today. And it has been almost a week since we chatted. So I personally would recommend those drops to our audience.
Okay, okay. Like you can see that like his gas is a little bit better because I know you've tried like the exercising, the burping. You felt like the drops like added on top of that to help him like with the stomach issues.
I think so. They helped him to cope better. So right
Okay, so
now,
you
if
hear
he
like less
has those,
crying?
yeah, so if he has
Okay.
gases, he still has the gases, right? But
Okay.
they just get out of his system faster. So he
Ah,
can
okay.
cry, but
Hmm.
then, yeah, he just has the faster life cycle of getting them out. So instead of crying for an hour, he might just do it for 10 minutes. And then
Got it.
he gets everything out of his body and he's happy again.
That
So,
sounds that sounds great. An hour to 10
exactly.
minutes, that's like 50
Yeah,
minutes less. Like
I know. Yes.
I will buy like the whole box of it. Like
You should, you
keep
should.
eating it, please.
I think there are
Um,
150 drops there. You need to give your baby 5 drops, and
okay,
it
okay.
costs like 30 Canadian dollars.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it might be pricey for someone, but again, I think like just your
Your
internal peace and
well-being,
well-being.
it's worth that price. Like more than
Exactly,
that.
yeah.
I can tell you that. It's a lot. So I
What about
used
checklist?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I actually, so initially when I started it, I was like, skeptical. Because I've tried many different things. I've tried like rewarding, I've tried all these things. But I gotta tell you, so I have this like, I don't know, 10-step checklist. It's basically like, brush your teeth, like just day-to-day things that I'm constantly reminding them. Or like put on your shoes before we leave the door. Or like, back from school, like there's like work that you need to do from school, there's like homework, there's like piano that you need to practice, etc. Surprisingly, actually, my oldest yesterday when I picked him up, everything, we ate dinner, and then I was washing dishes, and he actually played the piano by himself without me asking. And actually, he came to the kitchen
Wow.
telling me, he's like, Mom, I finished. I checked off this thing. I only have 2 more items on my checklist. I was like,
Nice.
wow, I am really impressed. I think kids find these things fun because the checklist is not just like something you write, it's like reusable. So you use it every day and it's a thing that you move. It's like either you did it or you haven't. So it's this like I think it's just fun for them. Yeah, so I'm actually really, really surprised. So we'll see if it keeps going because it's been like what, a week? And kids might find it amusing now and then
Mm-hmm.
forget about it the following day. So we'll see. But it's actually surprising to me that he came to me versus me having to ask him, which is a big plus.
That's amazing. The power of like accomplishment,
Yeah,
feeling this
yeah,
accomplishment. And if we go into the pregnancy topic, which I know
yeah,
is our topic today, but it actually like one of the advice that I have one of the advices which is related to this. Maybe we can
yeah.
chat about
Yeah,
it.
no, I would love to hear from your experience because obviously pregnancy has been a really long time for me now,
Yeah.
but I know it's still fresh in your mind. But how was it for you? Like we didn't get a lot of time to, check in, but I remember you coming in and you had this like cutest little bump. So tell me
Oh, thank you.
tell me about your pregnancy.
Yeah, so if I sum it up, my pregnancy was pretty easy in comparison to
Mm,
many women who have like morning sickness or who have to lie in bed because they can have a risk of losing a child, right? So my
hmm
pregnancy was easy, no morning sickness, maybe a little bit. But I can tell you that after I gave birth and I no longer had a bum, I
mm,
realized how tough pregnancy was, to be honest. And working while being pregnant is more challenging. So, a
mm,
couple of things that I had was number one, I was super sleepy in the morning, very
mm,
sleepy. And number two, my emotional well being changed a little bit because, in
hmm
general, I'm an extrovert and introvert at the same time. But
hmm
during pregnancy, I became introverted a lot for some reason. So, my extroverted personality just disappeared. I was wondering if it was a little bit even of a depression. I can't like really tell it was, but it was just like weird feeling. I was inside a lot. I was not
mm,
interested to really like chat with many people, go outside. I just wanted to be in my own little bubble.
mm.
And another thing which was tough is sitting on a chair while being pregnant because my stomach was squished and I always felt like discomfort. So I had to stand up where like sit, stand up, sit, stand up. So this aspects are very challenging. So this aspects affected I would say they started to affect my productivity, but
Mhm.
When it comes to a sense of accomplishment, I was able to figure out how to stay productive throughout the day. As I just mentioned, right? Like in the morning, I was so sleepy. So I was
Yeah,
like
yeah.
tired. I didn't want really to just manage my workload. But what helped me was to always figure out this one little task that I can start my day off. For example, it can be replying to a very important email. It takes 15 minutes to reply, but it gets you going. Or, for example, like review someone else's work, right? It might be just one pager, you need to review it. So just review it and it gets you going because you feel like, oh, I accomplished something. And now you are
Mhm.
on a rush to continue working on some more challenging tasks. So I
Yeah.
really recommend those moms or pregnant women who are struggling with productivity, just like even book into your calendar, like select this one little task that you can just accomplish. And once you do it, it's very easy to continue with your day.
That's a good tip. Yeah, I think mine was similar to you. My two
Hmm.
pregnancy actually surprisingly wasn't too tough. I think it got a little bit more tough with the twins, just with the weight and the size and all that, but no major problems. I think my only thing was like I couldn't have coffee or I try to avoid coffee because I don't want to
Yeah.
have caffeine. That was really tough. I don't know if I rely on coffee or if I just enjoy it. I think I'm just like taking away a part of me. So that was really tough. And I think like I just picked up like tea, like green tea and like, tea, and it doesn't serve the, I guess, the coffee craving that I still have.
Hmm.
So I think that was really tough. I think I had a tough time in my first trimester, actually, for both with like food. I didn't enjoy eating. Like I love food in general, so that was really
Hmm.
tough for me. Like, and I had to force myself to like just eat more valuable food, like protein. Like I eat an egg every morning. I try to like pack my day because I didn't feel like I wanted to eat. Um, and especially with twins, like I think everyone's so jammed together, like of my stomach
Hmm.
probably couldn't hold any food. So I think that was the tough part, just trying to fit like as much like protein as much as possible. Because I'm not a natural eater of like meat. I eat meat, but I don't eat it in big portion.
Hmm.
And when you're growing a person inside, you're kind of like, well, you need protein, right? Like that's how they build. Like that's the building block. You need it.
Yeah.
So I try to like pack as much like, I don't know, egg, beans and like other things that are like high in protein just to like kind of keep my protein up. So that was just one of the things that was, I guess, eye-opening to me. I also had an
Well,
iron.
can I just comment that you were
Yeah,
so
yeah.
good because all I was craving through the pregnancy was bread and sweets.
Oh yeah,
Honestly,
no, no, no. Same. Like I was
this is
craving,
I
I
was
forced
craving and
myself.
eating.
I forced myself, like at least like, okay, eat this small piece of meat. Then it's just like, okay, you're good.
Yeah.
But like I had no like I don't really have any cravings actually. Probably sweets with Nathan. Like the first or like after I got
Hmm.
the first hump, I think the first trimester was probably most tough for me. And then the second, third trimester, I was like, oh, I'm good. And I was like craving for the weirdest thing. Like I don't know. I'm not a super sweet person. I like sweets, but like I was constantly craving for like, I don't know, weird stuff. And I love mushroom, but I hate a mushroom. And then I
Hmm.
hated broccoli. I couldn't stand the smell. So it's just like weird things that happen to your body. I don't know what it is. But the only other thing I wanted to just kind of mention was probably like with the twins. I didn't know that was gonna happen was just the consistency in like the doctor appointments. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Mm.
It was so hard to fit everything together. Because with the twins, you have to do an ultrasound every 2 weeks when you're
Wow.
at like the last trimester because they need to measure every single thing of the twins. They don't want like one twin to, I guess, like be super big and the other twin like just not getting nutrients. So they want to make sure they're a little bit balanced. I'm not sure what happens if they're not, but I was thankfully like within the kind of 5%. So they were kind of balanced. So they had to measure every single thing. So every ultrasound appointment was like an hour. And then
Hmm.
being a pregnant woman lying in bed and like not moving was like super tough. And then having to like, find that time even during work. And then, we have like a lot of meetings. So like trying to coordinate and all that. So that was really tough as well. So that's probably the only thing that was, I guess, like tough for me to coordinate. I didn't have like you, I didn't have too much of an energy issue. I think for me it was just the sitting. The sitting was
Hmm.
super tough. But I think it helped because we have like standing desks too at our work. So that helped. And I take
Yeah.
like walks. I take like mini walks at least like just to get fresh air. I think that's important. But overall, my pregnancy was really not that much of a challenge. And I don't really have any tips. I think I just survived. So not like Anya, I don't have any
Yeah.
tips. I survived.
Well, I mean, I think it's important for us to talk about this because a lot of moms will listen to us. And what we want to tell is like, hey, we see you, we know you, we hear you, we understand that it might be very, very tough for you to be combining your pregnancy with work, right?
True.
And even this challenge of just feeling tough and stiff and like having hard time breathing while sitting is
Oh,
still
yes.
already something that affects you as a woman, at a workplace, and it will not affect men, right? So
Mm,
I think it's important for employers to understand that, hey, when we get pregnant, we might need some extra flexibility in terms of even appointments or in terms of the fact that we might be not as energetic and our brain
yes.
might be lagging, or we might need to stand up during a meeting and not just sit when if it's in-person meeting, right? And like what I felt during the pregnancy that this aspect is completely ignored today. So we try to talk about like equal rights and everything, but like there is no additional maybe conditions that can improve or boost our productivity at a workplace. And it's important to
That's
talk
true.
about it,
Yeah,
just
no, I
so that
agree.
people understand that, yeah, we are struggling a little bit and it's just natural process. We can't control it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think creating that like empathetic is like, okay, like people like, she's pregnant. Like, not to say like, she can't do anything because you actually
Exactly. Yeah.
hiked what, like a
I know.
10
Yeah.
kilometer hike, like a
Yeah.
week
I did a
before
10
you gave
kilometer
birth.
hike 3 days before giving birth.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you're just crazy. But I think just having that empathetic understanding that like, yes, like she might not be the most comfortable, like she might be having a difficult time, but she's still, carrying through her work, not to look at a pregnant woman like, oh, you can't do the work or doing anything, but just having that empathy, I think goes a long
Yeah.
way. Yeah, I think that's what we wanted to kind of communicate is being empathetic to people that might be going through things or going through pregnancy, just giving you that perspective of what we went through. I think that was what we wanted to kind of communicate.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with that, I think that is it for this episode. So if you wanted to, learn more about, PMN, PM, SaaS, anything about technology, please leave us a comment on our Instagram or, our page. We'll love to hear from you. What else you want to hear? And remember, if you like today's episode, remember to subscribe and as well as tune in for next episode. So should we try?
Yes.
Three, two, one. Bye for
Bye
now.
for now.
That was delay again, Anya.
It's on your side delayed. For me, it's like perfect. I don't understand what you talk about.
All right, whatever. We'll try again.
Okay, goodbye.